It's now at this point that I'm thinking, if I were you all, I would have a couple questions. All right, I've got a question. I have a lot of experiences with kids and that fast pathway of fear turning into overthinking. Yes, what they're doing is they've stamped that fast pathway and then negative thoughts, which turns into the slow pathway, and it creates a habit. So I didn't pay Leslie to say this, but this is something that I was just about to explain to you, and Leslie had great timing. So do this with me, everybody. 5, 6, 7, 8. Clap like you would if you were to go into jumps. 5, 6, 7, 8. What thumb is closer to your chest? Is it your right thumb or is it your left thumb? Throw it up in the chat. All right, we've got Bridget with right, Jenny with right, Rachel with right. Where are my lefty thumb clappers? All right, regardless, coaches, Leslie is right. I am also right thumb. All right, just so you know, this doesn't usually happen. And it also has nothing to do with you being right-handed or left-handed. That's not how this works. But everybody claps with either their right thumb or their left thumb closer. Kate, even you were right thumb. All right, all of us, go ahead and clap with your left thumb closer to your chest. How does that feel? Weird, right? Go ahead. Yeah. Uncomfortable, awkward. Exactly. I'm not even kidding. There's an athlete. Oh, she was so adorable. I'm not kidding. I had to do like a private lesson on how to clap with her opposite thumb. No joke. Like, all right, put your hands out. It was like 10 minutes. That's how hard it was for her to not clap based on her habit. Okay, why am I talking about right thumb, left thumb? This is an example of what Leslie was talking about. The more that your athletes do that slow pathway of fear, every time they expose themselves to overthinking and what ifs, they're literally burning a neural pathway in their brain associating tumbling with that reaction of freeze. So they're clapping and creating a habit. Let's take a step back. Habits are both positive and negative. Habits are literally just what's been reinforced. I know I have some positive habits and I also have some negative habits. One of my negative habits today, I'm trying to stop drinking so much caffeine. Oh, and can I tell you what my body is doing right now? I've had a headache since 8 o'clock this morning. Our bodies, our brains want to follow habits, you guys. Our brains want to do what is comfortable. That's actually why we're here on Earth. Our ancestors stayed alive because they had really active amygdalas. They were not the first to go out of the caves. They were not the first to eat berries. They were the ones who stayed away from all of the dangers and watched and learned how to be safe. So we are descendants from really active amygdalas. So all of your athletes who overthink, who have a tendency to avoid things that are difficult, they're literally acting the way that we, as a people, as our ancestors would have told us to be able to stay alive. But the truth is, that old way of functioning no longer serves us. And so you have athletes who are trying to literally rewire their brain. But I kind of hinted at this earlier. What is it like when you try and do something that is different than the way your brain is wired? It's weird, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. It causes our heads to hurt. So it really truly comes down to how consistent is this athlete or are you as a coach going to help them expose themselves to a little bit of fear and make it a safe environment for them. And I'm talking emotionally, psychologically safe, that it's okay to tumble one day and not the next day. Those are the only way that you're going to see your athletes rewire their brains. So Leslie, thank you for that question. We are going to get into more give me, Jeff, like tangible examples of how I can help them rewire their brain. I will get to that, I promise, but I want you all to recognize how much we're trying to overcome when it comes to a mental block. I want athletes to understand that this is not a small feat, but it's also not a sign that there's something wrong with them. Their brains and their bodies are working the way they're supposed to. When you say to have small challenges, to have the girls experience at every practice, what do you mean by that? Can you give examples? Absolutely. One, you got to read your kids. Are they push kids? I'm going to push past a red light. I'm going to like zoom through that stoplight. Or do you have a group of kids, or when you're talking mental blocks, kids who have a tendency to avoid like a turtle? They're both negative. They both have positives, but they're both negative things. With this group, what I would do, one of my favorite is rule of 3. When you drop a stunt 3 times, you have to go down the progression, your ladder progression. Give you an example. If we're doing straight up lib, our next ladder step is a tick up lib. The third ladder step is a tick up stretch. Then it's a half up tick up lib, half up tick up stretch, full around tick up lib. If they fell 3 times on any of those ladder steps, let's say it was step 3, switch up, stretch, they fell once. Switch up, stretch, fell twice. Switch up, stretch, fell almost, but fell 3 times. This group is going to sound like this. Oh, come on. Oh, we almost had it. Let's do it. How am I going to challenge that group? No, girls. What do we do now? What's our program standard? Switch up lib. You now need to do 3 switch up libs, hitting with excellent form and technique. And then you can go back to the switch up stretch. I know that may sound like, wow. Yes, that's totally what I would have them do. That is what's going to challenge them. Improving technique, having to work a step down. They're not going to want to do it. That's how you know it's a good challenge. Let's go to this group though. What would be a little challenge? We're going to talk about it in tumbling as an example. So let's say an athlete, we all have them, right? I don't even need to touch them. I'm just like right there. And like, they just need me there and they're going to throw their back handspring, right? They don't have much fear, just bend, throw, bend, throw. But the moment I do this, this is that athlete. So what I would suggest is finding a ladder step that is going to be a little bit of fear. We're going to go through this later in more detail, but let me give you a specific example because Bridget asked for one. If I'm sitting there and not touching them at all, then what I would do on my next one, and I'm going to read the room. Remember that empathy piece that you saw from the athlete who was freezing? Use it. All right, now go. And I'm watching that athlete's nonverbals to tell me if that is more stressful than when I'm on my knee. But I'm also checking to see if that is too stressful. So what yellow light was it? Or is it a yellow light? Like if they literally like, oh, okay, then jump, that's a green light. Nah, I didn't find a good challenge for them. But if they go, you promise you're there though, right? If I need it. Yeah, I trust me. I'm not touching you unless you need it, but I am right here. Whoop, see how fast I am? Okay, are you sure? Okay. Bend, go. Okay. That was a small challenge, and we're going to keep doing that. That's the Goldilocks zone sweet spot for that athlete. But what you might see is then, you sure? That is yellow light, slow down. That was too much of a challenge for them. Don't worry, I'm going to help you all become experts at this. But that is, how do I know I've got to really use my empathy? The scientific word is mirror neurons. That's actually what is going on between you and your athletes when you're feeling empathy. Give you a little sidebar to this. Have you ever sat with a friend and all of a sudden you're looking at each other and you're like, why are we sitting the same? What? And you're like, whoa, how did that happen? Mirror neurons. When your kids are upset and then you get upset, mirror neurons. It's what really connects us. Is pressure a factor in mental blocks? Rachel, great question. Absolutely. So if we're going to peel the orange here, it's important that you realize that pressure can come from 3 places. In my book, Unblocked, I call it the triad. Pressure might be coming from you as a coach. The pressure might be coming from their parents. The pressure might also be coming from themselves. Let's add on to that. Let's do this as a factor of 2. Pressure can also be implicit or explicit. What? Okay. Jeff, you're crazy. Big words. Yeah, I get it. Let's break it down. So implicit pressure from myself. Why can't I do it? Just throw it. Or sorry, explicit pressure is like, come on, why can't I do it? Just throw it. Implicit pressure is that inside voice of their cortex, like, just do it, just do it. Go, throw it, throw it, throw it. That might be causing pressure, either one of those 2. My implicit pressure as a coach, you're not going to love hearing this. They throw it. Yes. High five. Yes, you did it. You threw it. I love it. Great job. I know you're being supportive. I get it. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. But what do you think that feels now the next time they go to throw it? Do you think the pressure is more or less or the same? More. Exactly. So what I suggest, growth mindset, it is like the bedrock of everything I do with programs. Mindset developed by Dr. Carol Dweck is the belief that your talent, ability, and intelligence can grow and change. Is a growth mindset. Fixed mindset, my talent, ability, and intelligence is fixed. I only have so much. So those athletes who have been either getting feedback from you, their parents, society that says, when you attain things, you're good, get A's, win competitions, get state trophies, win nationals, get a full really fast, be better than everyone else. That's all fixed-minded praise, or simply put, product praise. Product praise means I'm praising you for the end result. Yes, you threw it. Yeah. Coaches, I get it. Just the other day, my kid texted me, their mom, and my husband, their dad. I got straight A's. You don't think I didn't want to like, yay? But I didn't. I used my prefrontal cortex, Jeff. It's exciting they got A's, but they also struggled this whole year. The only reason they got A's is because they did a whole lot of work, extra work to try and raise those grades. That's what you praise. I am so proud of you for hard work. I'm so proud of you, even though you didn't like your teachers, that you wanted to learn that material. I am so proud that you didn't give up. That is what we want to facilitate in our athletes and our kids, right? So when we're talking about pressure, which is where that came from, sometimes we are implicitly, that means like silent, creating pressure because of fixed mindset. We're talking about the end result. You threw it, yay. How about when they're not throwing it, You know what? I am so proud that you come into the gym 10 minutes, 15 minutes early every practice to work on this. I love what a great leader you are, that you're trying to help other people, even though you know you're fighting through this mental block right now. I love how hard you continue to work through this, even when you have those ups and downs. That process praise is a great strategy to help remove that implicit pressure that we as coaches are giving. Let's circle back around. I gave you that third, implicit and explicit. So sometimes explicitly as a coach, we're saying, why can't you throw this? We compete next week. Clearly, that's going to create more pressure in our athlete's cortex, slow pathway of fear, which is going to cause them to block. And then most of us out there understand that if the parents are acting as if we do often, hey, did you implicit? Hey, how was tumbling today? Did you throw your back handspring? You know, I spend a lot of money on those privates. Okay, I just want to make sure that you're working hard. You might be thinking, Jeff, I'm doing growth mindset. Look, I said hard work. But that child is still getting the implicit message that what you really want is product because you're paying the money. That doesn't mean you as a parent or that parents shouldn't also think like, is this really worth it? Because coaches, I'm not going to lie, there are so many athletes I work with that the amount of effort they're giving is not going to get them out of a mental block. Do they care? Yes. Are they giving effort? Yes. But effort's a spectrum between 1% and 100%. What I'm going to ask you all to do, though, is hear this, because this is key, meet your athletes where they're at. Use your medium brain. The part of your brain that's took 25 years to develop, we can still get it stronger. I get annoyed when I ask athletes to challenge themselves with something that I know is within their grasp and they avoid it. It drives me bananas. But I know that just like that great question said, by Rachel, can pressure be a fact? Yeah, if I'm sitting there like, why aren't you doing what I'm saying you're doing? Why aren't you working hard? I'm just creating more pressure in that athlete. So instead, what I do is reflect. Here is an awesome coaching strategy. You ask questions. Do you think you are giving 100% effort? What are some things that you could do different? What are some things you're really proud of? Asking questions really puts it back on the athlete. Sometimes that's the yellow light. Keep going that the athlete needs, rather than a coach dictating to them, really having the coach give it to the athlete and serve it to them and let them make choices. We'll talk about that when we get into the strategies, but that is really important for us to understand. Rather than us dictating the lesson and feeling the pressure that we have to resolve this, remember, we don't want to do that. What our job is to help change the perspective from the athlete of what a mental block is, not get them to throw it. Because as Rachel said, the more we go into a lesson, I got to get them out of this mental block. The more implicit and then sometimes explicit pressure we're putting on the athlete.